This is the Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants podcast, a show to help independent UK-based HR consultants get a pipeline of perfect fit, high-paying clients without expensive adverts, time-consuming social media activities, or energy-sapping and monotonous networking meetings. I'm your host, Nick Paninsky, author of How to Land Your Dream Client, a book which explains everything you need to know to get every sale and client you ever want. And if that sounds interesting, then make sure to grab your copy from the influential consultant website today. That being said, let's get into today's show.
Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants with me, Nick Paninsky. Today, we are very lucky. We have got Libby Langley with us, and she is going to be talking about how we feel about marketing. So, Libby, hello.
Hi, thank you for having me here, Nick.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for joining me. Do you want to just give yourself a quick introduction so people know who you are and why it's so good to have you on the show?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Libby Langley. I'm a business coach and have been for 13 years. My background is in social media and digital marketing. I've been doing that since 2009. I first taught social media courses. So that's why I'm here to talk about marketing. My focus now is about growing your business without any kind of hustle and in making life easier, happier, more joyful, whilst earning more money than you do at the moment. I'm a published author. My book's called Life in Business. And I also host a weekly podcast, which is also called Life in Business, because I believe in simplicity by calling everything the same thing.
Nice. I like that. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I considered doing that for my podcast, for my book, but then went in a different angle. God knows why. But hey ho. But I do like that you want to bring in that joyfulness, that fun element of business. That's something I really am trying to focus on a bit more. So yeah, that's good. So yeah, talk to us. Let's hear about this making marketing. You know, how do we feel about marketing? Why is that so important? So yeah, take it away.
The reason that I think it's so important is because it's the thing that everybody focuses on, right? It's you start a business or you start freelancing, and the first thing you do and you're told to do is get yourself out there.
Yeah.
And it's on day one, that's quite a hard thing to do because you don't know what you're getting out there or what you're getting out there for. I mean, to get clients, sure, but it has to go deeper than that. You have to think about yourself really before you think about clients or getting clients or serving clients, because what you want out of life, what you want to help people with, what you're really passionate about, those foundations in your business are what's going to drive everything else and what's going to drive your purpose, your mission, and your success ultimately. So I don't think that you can really successfully market something with just a strategy. There's got to be emotion, thought, and feeling and you-ness in it, or it's gonna just be another job, right? It's going to be another thing on a to-do list.
Yeah, that is so true. I think when you realize that you've got that mission and there's that you-ness behind you, then it drives you. So I do like that. And having those feelings about your marketing, yeah, it's super important.
And I think as well, even more so these days. I mean, I first taught businesses how to use social media back in 2009, and it was Facebook and it was LinkedIn, and it was easy, right? You put a post on social media, you made £1 million by the weekend. It was easy. There was less noise, there was less complication, there were fewer options then.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, there's a million different platforms. There's different types of content. There's short form, there's long form, there's written, there's video, there's Reels, there's TikTok, there's LinkedIn, there's Threads, there's everything, right? And it just the choice of that takes over from a considered, conscious decision as to what's actually going to be best for you and the quickest, easiest way to reach your client, right? And also, it kind of takes a lot of the joy away, I think, just by, I need to do all this without the feeling and the you-ness behind it. And it does lead to a very digitally focused marketing strategy, because it's not really a strategy, I'll say trust strategy, Whereas there are other options, there's the more traditional stuff of postal stuff and meetings in person and all this kind of thing, which can work a treat. And it's only by looking at yourself and going back inside yourself and thinking, what makes me happy? What do I enjoy? What can I keep enjoying forever or for the the life of my business? And I'm fairly sure that's not being on TikTok. I mean, it might be. I hate TikTok, so that's why I choose that one.
No, that is so true as well, because I think people do feel like they have to post on LinkedIn because they see everyone else do it. It's kind of that monkey see, monkey do. So they end up doing things which they're not necessarily comfortable with, which don't really speak to them and align with them as a person. And they end up just doing it because that's what they think that they should do. And it might not be right for them to post on LinkedIn. They might be better off picking up the phone, doing some cold calling. And
I shudder at that, but yes, that's absolutely not what I would ever do, nor would I help any of my clients do that, because it's just horrendous to me. However, that's me and my business, and that's the clients that I work with. I said to you before we started recording that I'm an introvert. I also, about 18 months ago, I was diagnosed as autistic ADHD. So I have all these kind of, which in your 40s is like a what? Yeah. So the life that I thought I was living I see what was wrong now. But it's those kind of realizations of self that all help with pulling together this perfect, because there's always tweaks, but this perfect kind of marketing strategy and marketing approach for yourself. And just, I hate phone calls, and it's like, okay, so I'm just not going to do any phone calls then, and that's okay. And I haven't put my phone number on my business cards or website or anywhere for, I don't know, a decade maybe. So. And that's okay. One of the most powerful things that any business owner can do is make those conscious decisions and just own them and just know that they're right for them. And it makes everything else easier. Yeah. And that's the point. It's the whole point of what you support people with and I support people with.
Yeah. It's so funny as well for me to hear that you wouldn't do cold calling, because we're all different, right? So I love it. I think it works a treat. I can see you shaking your head.
I am shaking my head. No, I mean, back in the early days of my career, I had a stint in telemarketing on a predictive dialer, and it beeps in your headset, and then you've got the next call. And I mean, that was kind of a norm then, but it clearly scarred me. And since the choice came in, which is largely to do with social media, and written communication, email and stuff being the norm, right? That I just thought, I don't need to do that anymore. So, no, it's not for me. And I know some people listening along some will agree with me and some will agree with you. And that again is just great, isn't it? It's like we have the choice to be whoever we are. And I just think that that's so powerful.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. There's no point doing something that you don't want to do. When we went into business for ourselves, it was to have control. It was to do what we want to do, to build what we want to build. And feeling like you have to do something, even though it's not right for you, what's the point in that?
Yeah. It's one of the things that I talk about a lot with my clients and in my own marketing is, and it's in my book and it's what my podcast is, there's a lot of that is this kind of should culture. And we think and feel so often that we should do something. And that's not maybe a conscious thing. We see other people doing things and perceive them to be more successful than us, even though success is relative and subjective. And therefore, we should do that too. And I think a lot of people in their business, they started doing something that they used to do for somebody else in a job, and they just continue exactly the same structure, focus, marketing, everything, but for themselves. Yeah. Which to me makes no sense, because why would you not just have stayed in the job where you got the pension, where you got the paid leave, where you got the sick pay, where somebody else ultimately was, responsible for it all, and give up all that security, comfort to do exactly the same thing on your own? If you're working for yourself, it's never the easy option, right? But it's the fun and interesting option. And so you have to absolutely own it and absolutely make it your own. Yeah. Whatever crazy way that looks for you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. 100%. You've got to do what's right for you. 100% with you. As I was saying to you before this recording, I've got my one client. Well, I've not got one client, but my one client this morning and I were talking, and she was saying she's going to post on LinkedIn because she feels like she should. And I was like, well, if that, there is other conversations to be had about why she shouldn't be doing that. But ultimately, if it doesn't align with who she is as a person and what she values, then there's no point doing it, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree completely. And it's not LinkedIn that's the issue in that. I would say it's the should.
Yeah.
You could replace LinkedIn for any kind of marketing. The word LinkedIn, sorry, for any kind of other marketing there. And that's where it doesn't align. And it's this, if the should drives us, that's when we lose our passion and purpose. And it does just become a kind of grind. And you wake up 2 years later wondering what the Lebanet you're doing, and well, this isn't how I thought it would be. And it's horrible. And I see it so often. I've been through it many times myself in my 13 years in business, and I see it absolutely with my clients when they come to me, and it's like, I've lost my focus. I don't really know what I'm doing or why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yes. It is interesting that you say that as well, because I've just onboarded a few new clients, and I said to them, get realistic about what it is that you want to achieve. So, set those goals. And then once you've got that business goal, understand why you want to achieve that business goal, right? And I tell them to identify 3 whys, because then whenever you feel like you don't want to do something, you can then go back to those 3 whys and realign yourself and no, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But without those guiding markers, why would you be doing what you're supposed to be doing? You just kind of there's a bit lost, aren't you?
Yeah, it's funny really, because when I first started my business, so I worked in the public sector. I worked for a college. I was a commercial development manager. Great job, great pension, tons of holiday, public sector happiness, all that. And really cushy. But I was miserable because I was a commercial person in a public sector world and blah 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 blah. And so I left. I walked out. I walked out one day. I just left. I was young then, right? I don't know. I was so desperately unhappy though. And I left, and I'd already got my teaching qualification. I'd already been teaching people about businesses about social media. I was on the tail end of doing my MBA, and the dissertation was in social media marketing strategy. So I kind of had all the tools, right? And I said to a few self-employed people, business owners that I knew through networking, and said, do you think I can make some money teaching people how to use social media? And they said yes. And I'm like, right, brilliant, let's start the business then. And that was my basis for starting a business. I never said to myself, am I really truly passionate about helping people how to use social media? I knew that I wanted to do things differently for myself and have a bit more autonomy, but I wasn't truly passionate about the topic, despite having given 3 years of my life to an MBA, thinking about it. And, but what I've seen over the years, and, it was a long time ago, it's 13 years ago, what I've realized over the years is the thing that I'm passionate about is helping people find that drive and that purpose, and what the business looks like and how they market themselves. I can help them with all of it, right? Because I've got so much experience and worked like 6,500 people. So, but
wow.
It's all so different. And that's what I really hope that I can communicate with people, is that there is no, as long as you stick to the law or the legalities within your industry, there is no template for business. They should be ripped up, because the way that you feel about what you're doing is the only thing that matters, I think, really.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you on that one. It's as we were saying, you don't feel comfortable doing cold calling, whereas I love it. As an extrovert, it's very much in my my wheelhouse. So let me ask you a question, right? Mm-hmm. So how would someone go about identifying the best, marketing method, lead gen method for them as a self-employed person, as a consultant, as a business?
Okay, that is an interesting question, that actually, because I would say you can't answer that without having done the work beforehand. And the thing that I talk about a lot, it's the basis of my group coaching space program. It's the basis of most of the talks that I do on stage. Is a building a house analogy, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can't build a house roof first.
All right. Yep.
Everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows that. And yet, when we start a business, we try and do that, and the roof is the marketing, right? But you can't, it's not going to work because you haven't got the foundations and you haven't got the walls. And the foundations, which is really the thing that I spend the most time with my clients, it kind of gets quicker the further up the house you go, if that makes sense. The foundations takes a long time. The concrete's got to set for weeks, you know. But that's things like your vision, your mission, your purpose, what you care about, how you're going to change the world, what really matters to you, how you want your life to be. All of that's all the you-ness, right? And then the walls are the kind of delivery mechanisms and the money. So how you actually interact with your clients, how you deliver stuff, what you charge, what your profit margin is, all that kind of more practical stuff, because that's movable, right? Walls can be added to and moved and all of this. And then the roof goes on, the marketing. So by that stage, you are so sure and so confident in yourself and what you're doing and who you're helping and how you're helping them, that question almost answers itself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny that you talked there briefly about the foundations, right? People try and do the roof, and you are right, because people start posting on LinkedIn because that's what they think that they should do. You know, I see a lot of posts. There's various Facebook groups, and the people are like, "Oh, how do I get my business on? How do I go networking?" You're like, you way thinking problem 25. You know, let's start off with problem number 1. But it's interesting that you talked about the foundations, because I've just gone through this with 3 new clients that I've onboarded this morning, and I like first one is identifying your goal, your milestones, your 3 whys, and then I took some time to write it down. Is that backwards?
I can't see it. My face is over the top of it.
Anyway,
target audience, did it say?
Target audience, yeah. Because unless you've got that, there is no marketing. It falls apart.
Yeah. Absolutely, you've got to decide. You've got to decide who you want to work with, and who you don't want to work with. All the kind of the opposite negatives of everything that I've said and you've said are equally important, because who you don't want to work with. You know, I work predominantly with women. And I work, generally speaking, with women who are solo business owners. So it's just them. They might outsource a few bits and bobs, but it's just them. They have coaching style businesses, so they're service-based people, and they're generally speaking between kind of 35 and 55, right? And there are people outside of that, but that's, I mean, I'm in that space, right, as well. So I work with versions of me
that people like you,
that aren't quite at the same stage as me, and so we like each other, and that's one of the first ports of call. So if you're a 65-year-old guy, or if you're a 23-year-old, I'm not the best person to help. And however lovely you may be, I'm probably not the most aligned person. And I think just saying that stuff out loud is one of the hardest things that any of us has to go through, because we are saying no to people. And fundamentally, as service providers, we just want to help people, right? We want to make people's lives better. But there are other people who better fit some people than us. So just being really brutally honest. I mean, my list goes on and on and on, right, of my ideal client, but that was the headlines, right? Yeah. So if anybody's listing fits that, hello. But we have to do that, and it's kinder to ourselves. We know that we're going to attract the right people, and also, to answer the question about which marketing tool is the best, that's going to help you know that. And I think that's just so important, because it eliminates some of the marketing choices that are out there.
That's so interesting. So wait, because of who you identify will help identify which lead gen method is most likely to work.
Yeah, 50% of it, and 50% comes from you. But yeah, of course.
That is, I love the way that you've put that across, because when, because for me, like, I know that I could send out lumpy mail, but it's not right for my audience. Lumpy mail is a bit more of a bigger contract. When you're talking about, I say to my clients, bit of a tongue-in-cheek one, but if you wanted to work with local mechanic garages, for example, they got like 10, 15, 20 mechanics, and they've got employment issues or whatever, and a really fun a lumpy mail campaign would be to get some cucumbers, get some condoms, throw them together in a package and saying, yeah, you're getting screwed by your employees, give me a call.
God.
Yeah, but it would work.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because they would get on board with that. They would think that was hilarious, right? Whereas that would not work for a certain different type of audience. Growing a HR consultancy can be incredibly lonely. Your friends and family pay polite attention, but they don't really get it. And the fear of where the next client is coming from can be incredibly daunting when you've got mouths to feed and a mortgage to pay. All in all, becoming self-employed wasn't quite as fun and easy as you thought it'd be. And I get it, trust me. That's why I've set up the HR Business Success Squad, and I'm inviting you along to grab one of the limited spaces. In the squad, the first thing we do is get laser focused on where you want your business to get to and how you're going to get there. From there, it's all about making progress with one-to-ones, fun competitions, trainings, Q&As, and interacting with a fantastic group of people who are in the same boat as you. They get what you're going through and what you're trying to achieve, because they're on the same path as you, so you can hold each other to account. And the best part? There's no contract. The HR Business Success Squad is a monthly pay-as-you-go membership. You can come and go as you please. If it's not for you, you're free to leave. No hard feelings, no cancellation charges, and no early exit fees. So if you're ready to create a real plan for growth, with real support and people alongside you to cheer you along as you make progress towards your business goals, then visit the Influential Consultant website today and join the HR Business Success Squad.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be appalled if someone did that to me. But that's the kind of beauty of it all, isn't it? Really, as long as you're true to yourself and you know what resonates with your audience. We are not necessarily all of everybody's ideal audience. So, it's absolutely true. And I think lumpy mail is overlooked. Definitely these days. But also, you have to know about the audience. Like for me, I'd love it if you sent me something in the post, but you're going to have to dig quite hard to find my address because I'm not a physical location. I work from home. Please don't come knocking. And the same with the phone number and stuff. So, all of that goes into who is the ideal audience.
Yeah. Interesting. So, what should someone be looking for in their ideal audience? I mean, I've spoken about this enough, but let's get your perspective. So let's start off as, if someone comes to see you, they want to feel good about their business and their marketing. What steps should they be taking?
Well, first of all, looking at what's working and what's not, and what lights them up and what doesn't. So an elimination process, so stuff can be cut out, because simplification is always a great thing to facilitate growth. And to really know what it is, like the feeling of what it's like to work with someone. And then, so flesh out that person, what are their kind of beliefs? What are their, what drives them? What are the similarities and what are the differences between you and them? And you almost have to build a kind of real person to a certain extent, not to be so prescriptive that it's like, well, she's got to be called Sue and she's got to be 47 and she's got to have this kind of cat. Not to that extent, but the kind of rounded feeling of, I know because you've used these words and this is the particular thing that you're stuck on. And the more you are confident enough to niche, the better it's going to be. Because, there's tons of generalists. I'm a generalist, really, in terms of what I can support people with, because I've got so much experience. I've learned so many things. I know, I've lived a lot of it. However, my niche, my specialism is this kind of getting people through this wobble period onto the beauty that's at the other side. So, and the anti-hustle, neurodivergence as well, I guess. But and so you can be a generalist, but you're also niched. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think the only thing that I just want to circle back to is when you were talking about niche there, I think you said something along the lines of the tighter you can get on the niche, the better. And I know that you know what you mean, but just for those who are listening along who might misunderstand that, Libby, you're not saying go after, so specific audience that they barely exist. You're not talking about going after one-legged vegan runners who are from Canterbury. Because
how many are there? We don't know.
Well, yeah,
that's the thing. Yes and no, right? Because if you did specialize in, disabled runners who are vegan, that's actually probably quite a broad market, and you could give a fantastic level of support. What hampers you is the fact that you're also adding Canterbury into the list
and one-legged.
and one-legged. Yeah, I did already broaden that. Yeah, but yeah, so there's nothing. If the important thing about it is that you have a reason for choosing that niche or that niche appealing to you. And for me, my niche is because it's kind of me, but back a few steps. And I know all the things that I've struggled with in my life and in my business and how I've overcome it. And I want to prevent people from going through the same thing as me and building a business because they should, rather than the one they want. I built, to start with, my business was a digital marketing agency, and I had staff, and after a few years I realized it was making me miserable, and so I made all my staff redundant, and that was within the first 4 years of me being in business, and that's a hell of a journey to go through. And I just don't want anyone to have to go through that the trauma, the small t, but the trauma of that. It's tough. And so I can speak absolutely categorically and with quite a lot of passion about my niche and why it matters to me. And that resonates with people. And so that's what I want people to know. So it doesn't really matter how specific it is, because the more specific it is, the more of a specialist you are, therefore the more you can charge, the fewer clients you want. So yeah, if it is disabled vegan runners, fine. Just be clear about why, and make sure that you're really, really talking to them from you rather than marketing.
Sure. And you have to have the aligned values as well. Like if you are not a vegan, you're not going to enjoy working with vegans.
Yeah, exactly. It's making it authentic and the word authentic, but authentic and genuine rather than cynical and money grabbing. That's what I would say the difference is. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, Libby, I don't have anything else. I guess, if you were to share one piece of advice, and what would you say? Summarize for us.
I would say the best bit of advice, and I wish someone had said this to me in 2011 before I started my journey and I had to discover it for myself, is genuinely, truly think about what you want and write it all down and what you don't want, and then see what fits in what you already have in your business and see what doesn't, and start making the changes by saying no to stuff and yes to the right stuff. And that alone will revolutionize your business and make your life just so much happier.
I like it. Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because that's what I did. That's how I've ended up working with HR consultants, and that's why I think I touch on it a little bit more briefly than you in your in terms of your mantra. But I tell my clients to do a miracle morning. If you woke up tomorrow morning and everything in your life was perfect, how would you know?
Yeah,
because after that, then everything gets a lot easier. So
it's nice. I think we have very similar messages. We express it very differently, and I'm less, having been practical for so many years and also being autistic, therefore loving a spreadsheet. I've had to train myself to really look into the feelings and the emotions and what you want, because that's the thing that makes the difference. And oh my God, if everything could be solved with a spreadsheet, I would be a lot happier. However, it can't be. And so this not being my natural way of thinking about things actually in some ways kind of makes it better, because I don't find it super easy. So I that's how I kind of support people. But yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I would say.
Love it. Perfect. Okay, Libby, before I thank you for coming on the show, how would someone be able to get in touch with you, find out more about you?
If I've got a free download that might be helpful for people, which talks more about the building the house analogy and how you can escape overwhelm by kind of going through this process. So the web link for that is libbylangley.com/guide, and they'll be able to get hold of that. And also, please listen to my podcast. It's more of this, right? It's called Life in Business, and it's on all the podcast channels. But I'm Libby Langley across everywhere. My website, all social media, and everything. So not TikTok though. I mean, I'm there, but I'm never going to interact with you because I don't use it. So
excellent, perfect. Well, thank you for coming along today and sharing your words of wisdom. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, for those listening along at home, thank you for listening along at home. As ever, get marketing, because without marketing, there's no sales. And without sales, there's no business. So get marketing.
Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, then please consider taking a minute to help us grow by sharing the episode with a friend or colleague, or by leaving a positive review on podchaser.com. And make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes if you haven't done so already. I've been your host, Nick Brinsky, and if you've got any questions or you want to know more about today's topic, then feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be delighted to hear from you. See you next time.